Is that still the case today? Because I mean, time they tell. In some cases, you see some improvement in generation, and at some other time it goes on. So is that an average of what is being used, or even today, that's the case?
I don't think the situation has changed dramatically since the roadmap document came out.
I'm noticing, excuse me, I'm noticing that you've used the word energy use, and you said that is how we should calculate it. Because I was wondering, kerosene, we actually don't use kerosene to generate power. We use it more for cooking, and you're saying that those are things that ought to be factored in as well, as it's something a power could have handled, assuming power were constant, right?
Exactly. If our energy regime is where it's supposed to be, people will be able to use electricity to cook if they want to. They'll be able to use gas to cook if they want to. The fact that they have to be lining up to buy kerosene and all that is part of your energy mix. And so it comes into calculation. They also use lanterns and all that to provide lighting for themselves. So that also comes into the calculation.
Now you say that we have a fantastic document, the roadmap. Everybody commended it in 2010 when it came out, but as you rightly pointed out, 4 years down the line, it's been a bumpy, I'm using your words now, takeoff. What are we doing to correct these bumps? Do you still see us, taking off, or does it look like we're about to force a landing even before we've taken off?
I think there's tremendous opportunity for Nigeria. Whenever there are challenges, there's a way you can use those challenges to lift up the nation. And there have been nations before us who faced challenges. When the Americans faced the challenges of the Soviet Union in the 1960s, and the Soviets were the first to go to space, and they were thumbing their nose at the Americans, President Kennedy came and woke up the whole country and said, we're going to put a man on the moon before the decade ends and bring him back to Earth. And the entire country rallied around and created everything. They brought immigrants in, the Americans in, they concentrated on it. By the end of the decade, they had landed on the moon. The power challenge is a challenge, but we can rise up to it. There are three things I want to talk about power. Number one is the architecture of our power today. As of today, the architecture we have is too big. It's antiquated. It's too complicated. We don't understand it. We have not maintained it very well. And even if you come up with the best idea and you're selling and you have discos and you have gencos and you have telcos, I can say that people of my age probably put this policy together because it's also, I'm back to the 1960s with gencos and discos and all that. Brilliant idea. But when your architecture is not where it's supposed to be, you have to take a very hard look at the way we are doing things. If the Americans have to do it all over again, they would not build the power system they have today. And there's an opportunity for Nigeria there. You remember, even in the telecom sector, it is developing countries that could take an advantage of the advances, because the developed countries had already laid up their copper and all that, and they want to recoup their costs. In the power area, there's an opportunity for Nigeria. Number one, we have to completely rethink the architecture we have. What I'm saying today, we should continue with what we are doing now. I'm not saying we should stop it. But there are ideas we can bring on it that will almost guarantee success for us going forward. So what I would recommend is this: distributed generation. Avoid single point of failure. A few months ago, in New Mexico, a technician was working on the power line. The tool dropped, and power went out of 5 states in America. A technician just dropped his tool, broke something, and power, 5 states were in darkness. President Obama said, no more of this. And what is very exciting is that some of the new ideas in making the power very robust, some of the movers of this are Nigerians in the United States. There's an idea called community energy storage. The policy for that, there's a Nigerian there writing it for the United States. So there's an opportunity for us in Nigeria to exploit new ideas in power generation. Continue with what you are doing, but let's add on to it new ideas that will guarantee a solution. So I'll do distributed generation. Don't do single point of failure. A friend of mine who oversees a lot of things that's going on in Nigeria, I went to his hotel one morning, and he was on the phone. He said, you cannot believe it, like the previous 12 hours, the entire Nigerian system was off. Everything. There was no single place in Nigeria that was on national power. If there was light anywhere, it was coming from self-generation. We shouldn't have such a system. We should have so much redundancy that when something fails, another one kicks in. That's the way it should be. So I'll do distributed generation. I would recommend creating multiple power companies. At least one power company for every local government area. I will allow the leaders of the community, the emir, the oba, the councillor, the school principal, the doctors, or whatever, to have a stake in each of these companies. I will generate, say, 50 megawatts per local government area.
How are you going to do that?
What you do is that you create a small company. Don't create gigantic companies. I sat on a review thing in Abuja a few months ago. A company in southern Kaduna, launched by a diasporan like myself, is building a 50 megawatt solar plant in southern Kaduna. What is exciting about this is that many of these solar plants can be built within 6 months. Where I live in Ohio, during the winter, snow is this high. And near where I live, they just built a 12 megawatt solar plant. Because I saw some documents, people saying that by year 2020, renewable energy for Nigeria, the best we can do is 4%. That is not good. We have to be able to do better than that. Germany in Europe, 4 months ago, towards midday, 75% of their energy came from renewable. Any time of the day, at least 31% of their energy is coming from renewable. So we have an opportunity. I'll do distributed generation. I'll create many, many companies in every local government area and let there be local ownership of these companies.
Okay, let me pick up on that distributed generation part of the architecture which you talked about. Because as it is now, it's been privatized.
Yes.
And so different distribution companies in different geographical zones of the country currently exist. So if you were to do distributed generation, what happens to transmission?
Well, excellent question. You do distributed generation, you build a microgrid around the generation. You actually build plants close to where they're going to be used. Don't try to build, do what you are doing and continue what you are doing. But begin to build small plants, distributed generation close to where they are. Source your fuel locally. Whether it's natural gas or biogas, that's why I'm very excited about the report today. Because with waste to energy, you can generate gas.
Yeah, because most of our power plants thermal,
Yes.
which has to be powered by gas.
And you have to now run kilometers and kilometers.
That's where our challenge is.
That's where the challenge is. So you want to move your fuel source close to where the power is being utilized. So if you do waste to energy, and all the things I'm talking about today, the technology you need is not 5 years ahead. They are off-the-shelf technology that we can use today. So you build local plants, you use natural gas if you have it available, biogas, you use solar. Every square meter of land you have, you can have 150 watts of electrical power from it using today's technology. So if you need 1.5 kilowatts of power for your house, if you can cover it about 10 square meters with solar panels, you have 1.5 kilowatts. With the average Nigerian house.
And it's cost effective?
Very cost effective. One of the exciting things that have happened in renewables in the past 5 years is that the cost of solar in particular has really crashed. What used to cost $5 a watt 5 years ago is now below $1. So there's a great opportunity for us.
Okay, but there seems to be something that some of those who are involved in solar are getting wrong. Because if you hit the streets, in almost any part of the country, some of the solar generated or solar powered street lights you see, they just are below standard, most of them. So it looks as though, is it that is the quality that is out there, or the technology is still being improved upon?
There's no problem with the technology at all. One of the challenges we have in the country is that people get into things that they have no understanding of. That's number one. Number two, when you build systems like this, you must have a lot of maintenance to go along with it and all that. So anyway, I was still talking about the generating sources. We talked about solar, hydro. There are some modern, to build a hydropower plant now, you don't need to build a dam. There are what they call run of the river plants now that you can just put in the river and it begins to give you power.
Sounds interesting. Just hold on the bit. We'll have to go for the headlines. Victor Matthias is standing by to give us another look at the headlines, but we'll come back and pick up on this particular point which Prof is talking about. Victor, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Jim.